Let me park. The children ain't here, but let me talk to somebody. Don't you ever think that you can handle all things by yourself. Baby, you better interject God in every area in your life. Because when you start to think that you can do it by yourself, you are running the risk of being the prodigal son. When I think about him, I then think that the prodigal son goes down and he's now working a job that was beneath him. The Bible is so kind because it says he's living in the hog pen. He's now taking care of the swine. He's got his feet in the mud, gnats flying around his eyes, sweat running from his brow. He stinks. He has the stench of hog's mess all on him, and he has to think about eating what the pigs have to eat. Oh, but here it is, in the middle of the hog pen in life, while he could not get his feet out of the mud, he could not get his hands out of the slop, he could not get his body out of the dirty clothes. The Bible said he came to himself. Oh my Lord, you might have missed that. Let me run it back by you. Before his feet got out of the mud, before his hands let the slop go, before he could change the dirty clothes, the Bible said he began to think about where he had come from. And the thought made him say to himself, I have no business being where I am. Oh baby, when you get your mind out of your mess, everything else follows suit. Because when the boy came to himself and started to think about the goodness of his father and all that he's done for him, the Bible says that he got out of the mess, went back to his father. The very first thing that the father does was give him a new robe. He then puts a new ring on his finger, goes and gets him some good food, and then throws him a party. Can I tell you what God told me to tell somebody? He said, it's time for you to throw yourself a party. It's time for you to say goodbye to every negative thought. It's time for you to say goodbye to every negative person. It's time for you to say goodbye every imagination that you've not cast down. It's time for you to celebrate the newness that he's poured in you. Because when the prodigal son came to himself, he was then transformed by the newness that he had now just been revealed. And I love this particular portion because when I think about it, it draws me to Paul's particular treatise. And what Paul says is, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. This is your reasonable service. And please don't be conformed to this world, but be ye there's that word. Be ye transformed by what? The renewing of, oh my Lord, now we talking in here. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Why? So that you can prove that which is good, acceptable, and the perfect will of God. How do I prove God's perfect will? I first have to change the way I think. Oh, and when I bring myself out head first, oh, God can bring my body out. Before God will ever bring my body out of Egypt, he's first got to bring my mind out of Egypt. Before God can ever bring me out of poverty, he's got to change the way I approach my life. This might offend some, but I don't care. You need to stop living with that Negro rich attitude if you expect God to bless you with some money, because he ain't gonna give you no money until you first have changed your mind. Because anything God gives, he's also holding you accountable for it. So you need to understand God is the investor, but he also is the accountant. He wants to keep inventory over everything he's placed in you, because after it's all said and done, you've got to give an account for the works done with God's blessing. And that's why I learned to read this carefully, because the one portion portion about being transformed is translated in the Greek. The Greek word here is metamorpheo, where we get the word metamorphosis. Let me talk about metamorphosis here. A caterpillar goes into metamorphosis. It is a complete change of state. It doesn't just change its life, but it changes the way it operates. It changes its whole molecular structure. It changes its whole DNA. It changes everything about it. It is no longer a worm. It is now a flying creature. It has grown wings, and now it has a whole different idea about life. It's now flying around. That's exactly what God puts you and I through. Every opportunity I go through is a metamorphosis, because God is changing not just my lifestyle, He's changing my state of being. Please stay with me here. The whole miracle of Calvary's cross is that Jesus is in man form, but now when He gets up, He's no longer man. He has changed His whole physical state from being God-man to being all God that was man. That's exactly what God is trying to do with you. Is He's trying to take you through just enough opposition that you begin to change who you are, because you're not going to change with everything good. That's not going to bring about the greatest change in your life. The greatest change you're going to have is going to come after you've gone through a little bit of pain. But the pain was not to hurt or offend you. The pain was to bridge the gap from where you were to where you're going. That's why the writer says, but those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. That's a transformation, because I didn't have wings before I waited on God, and now I was a crawling creature, but now I'm flying above the trouble. That's exactly what God told me to tell you, is that you're waiting to still crawl around the issue. But God said, I'm not in the business to keep you crawling. I'm in the business to make you fly, because I need folk that can develop the wings of the morning and soar above their issue. Because though I may not change the problem, I still can change you. And if I change you, you can fly above where you are. Look at somebody and say, that's the change. Here it is, here it is. I thank God for your new mind. I thank God for everything you had to endure. I thank God for the opposition that's come against you. Because when I look about every struggle you've endured, I see how God's purpose is being revealed through the newness of life. Everything that God has poured in you has now got to the place that it's maturing. You've got new wine that's been maturing in you. And God said it's been sitting on the shelf, going through the fermentation process, and it's almost ready. And when it's ready, I'm going to crack the bottle. I'm going to pour myself a drink. And I heard the writer say, taste and see that the Lord is good. Why can I taste of God's goodness? Because after all that God has brought me from, after everything that He set upon for me, I know where my strength comes from. Look at somebody and say, the best wine is in you. Don't worry about everything you've endured. Worry about the best of you that's inside of you. How do you know that I've got the best in me, preacher? Thank you for asking as I take my seat. I know you got the best in you because I've watched the devil throw his best shots. I've watched the devil give his best lies. I've watched the devil bring his greatest frustration. I've watched you have to endure your family. I've watched folk walk over you. I've watched folk talk about you.